It is time for the Friedman Adventures morning briefing on a misty, cold, almost rainy-like morning in Southern California. It is really great to be back with you. I'm Phil Friedman with all the very latest here on the West Coast, and we certainly have a lot to cover with you. If you don't mind, smash that like button. That really helps us a lot. And share this video if you like it, or even if you don't like it, with a friend or enemy. We would really appreciate it. It's all because of you that we are growing so quickly, and I can't thank you enough for it all. Boy, I'll tell you, there is so much to talk about. Let's get into it all right now, because we're starting to move up on that 3 white sea bass per rod limits. The limit will go from 1 to 3 on our Amigo trip. We leave Wednesday night. Thursday, you can take 3 white sea bass. Fingers crossed that that is all going to come together. All right, we've got to talk about albacore. We've got to talk about bluefin tuna. We've got to talk about yellowfin tuna, barracuda, sand bass, calico bass, so much more. There is just so much to talk about. Yesterday, I was down at 22nd Street Landing, and before we even departed on the Judith Ann, Tom Duer's beautiful little boat to go calico bass fishing, Sam Patella was there, and Sam's been in this business for a long time. I didn't realize that him and Tom Duer had not seen each other for 45 years, so that was a really nice reunion. And Ricky Carbajal and Jeff Jessup, who have recently acquired the Apollo, they were there. I got to see those two dear friends. It was really a lot of fun. And of course, Eddie Leland will be joining us on the Judith Ann, or did join us, I guess I should say, will be joining us in this video a little bit later. And Eddie, spending time with him is always a thrill and a lot of fun. So, just a general overview right now. That squid, remember, we had harped about it all winter long. That squid that was up there off Monterey a year ago moved down to the Channel Islands and into San Clemente and Catalina due to this La Nina, this cooler situation that we have water temperature-wise, and that is starting to pay dividends right now. We've got sea bass on the local scene. We've got it at all the islands. That powder keg is ready to explode again. There's been some good private boater sea bass fishing going on at multiple islands and on the coast. So keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully that is going to get going here very, very soon. All right, albacore. Tommy Holland is giving us all that information. There's albacore being taken 300 miles from San Diego. Not a lot, but it looks interesting. We didn't have fish in that zone last year. Now, we had a La Nina, a similar kind of water temp situation last year, but we had this plume of warmer water that could have been the blockade that didn't allow the albacore into the West Coast in any significant numbers. That is severely diminished this year, so there's cooler water. In other words, the kind of condition albacore like is present this year, so they may roll into the West Coast. And for those of you who believe that fish move on a full moon, Tommy Holland believes that. I've seen it many, many times. Old timers will tell you that fish move on a full. We're moving up on the full moon on the 16th of this month. A few more days. Look out. Maybe, who knows, if you kind of subscribe to that theory, that albacore could move in, the barracuda could move in. Things are just getting ready to really rock and roll. We take you down south across the border down to the beautiful city of Ensenada, Baja California, where the pongueros down there continue to catch nice bluefin tuna. It's been off the bite the last several days, however, but they're still scoring some fish on the Mad Max, doing pretty darn well down there. They've been trolling around there for the whole month, and before this, you know, there's times when bluefin don't want to bite the troll, but this year they're all over that Mad Mac lure. That has been working really, really well. So those of you who like to drive across the border as I do and go down there and eat fish tacos and have some fun, you can definitely do that. There is no question about it. And there's the bonus of catching maybe 100, 200 pound bluefin tuna, and then other times that 18 to 40 pound grade. So Ensenada still viable, still looking pretty darn good. Now, we are also taking a look at San Diego, where that bite has sputtered here recently, showing some signs of coming back. But there's been trips that have not been anywhere near limits. The nighttime still seems to be the best time to be fishing for that bluefin tuna, as it fires up and really chews at night. But we had a little evidence of daytime fish also. Brian Nguyen, remember Brian? He did that live show with me, that live Friedman Adventures podcast just recently. A wealth of information. I mean, the guy is loaded. Well, he was just out on the Cortez with Rambo, and he said it was a slow scratch at mostly 40 to 80 pound bluefin tuna. He said you really had to work hard at it. Kind of a slow pick, but he said everybody on board, as usual when you're on the Cortez, had a great time. The San Diego left yesterday morning at 5:30 in the morning. They're one of the boats that fish the daily bluefin, and it's still amazing to me that they're able to come up with really great fish. They work their butts off trying to find fish because it's been really slow the last couple of days, really slow for those guys in one-day range. They found some fish, ended up with 8 on the bluefin tuna, not bad at all. Grande on a day and a half, 26 on the bluefin tuna. Go back and check out yesterday's morning briefing if you didn't see that rare luvar that was caught on board the Grande. That was a surprise, and definitely just another reason to be out on the water and see these magnificent things that only we get to see. I talked to my dear friend Sean Hardigan running the Mission Bell, and Sean said much better signal yesterday. It really seemed to be coming together. He ended up with 8 bluefin and 4 yellowtail, so much better there on the Mission Bell. Sean is such a capable fisherman. He works hard. He knows what he's doing. Mission Bell is another good one for you. And the Liberty had 26 novice anglers, aka as rent rodders on board. They ended up with 10 bluefin tuna, and that says a lot about the crew on the Liberty. That's all I can say. You take 10 guys who are renting rods and they catch, or 26 guys, and they catch 10 bluefin tuna, that's pretty darn good. Something tells me those guys on board there are good teachers and really helping out. So looking pretty darn good. Still need 2 rigs down there in San Diego. You still need to have that 30, 40 pound fluorocarbon outfit ready to fly line if you hit a kelp or you're catching those smaller grade bluefin tuna, but also a really good idea to have something with 80 to 100 pound on it. You can sinker fish with that, and you can also use a lure. Those flat falls are working well. The Daiwa Zacanas are also really, really effective in this by flat fall lures. All of those working really, really well on that bluefin tuna. So make sure you vary your tackle, diversify, make sure you have that lighter stuff and the heavier stuff to be prepared. A lot of this bluefin is slid down the Baja coast, down there around Puerto Nuevo again. There's still some fish up in U.S. waters, but a lot of it is slid down the coast. It's kind of a yo-yo this year, going up and down the coast. We think that it's eventually going to head out to San Clemente Island and then out to Tanner, but I mean, come on. These are bluefin tuna. Who knows what the heck they're going to do? You know that opera La Donna e Mobili, women are fickle? Well, so are bluefin tuna. And I'm not saying women are fickle. That was the opera. I think it was Puccini that came up with that one. So don't pick on me on that one. All right, let's talk some islands right now. Coronado Islands down south there. A little pick at the yellows. Bill Wilkerson and the Malahini was there. Had 1 yellow. That's been the situation for quite some time, as it's raining here in Southern California. Also, there are rockfish out there, of course, and some calico bass, sand bass, barracuda bouncing around those islands. Same thing south of there, Todos Santos off of Ensenada. Pretty good barracuda bite there, and a lot of shorts. There's been some yo-yo iron yellowtail in that neck of the woods, and there's also been pretty good rock fishing with some lings down there. San Clemente Island, still tough fishing. Let's just be perfectly candid about it, but man, there's a lot of yellows bouncing around there. There's big bonita all over that place. The calico bass fight trying to come together. It's looking better all the time. It's going to go off one of these days in a big, 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 big way. And then we take a look at Santa Barbara Island, San Nicolas Island. There is some conking going on at both islands on white sea bass. Private boater info. It's pretty darn good. Sport boats have yet to get a piece of it, but I'm thinking Wednesday maybe, or I guess I should say Thursday. There's some really good fishing going on, and we're just moving into a time with that full moon where hopefully that sea bass is going to settle in and bite. At Clemente, at Catalina, at Santa Barbara, at Nicholas, you're exploiting squid nests. You find the bait, you'll find the fish. And of course, that's what I was talking about when that squid mass, that big area of squid moved down here into these islands. That was the mechanism to start the food chain flowing and get those fish down here. We're going to see if that pays bigger dividends here as we go along. Looking pretty darn interesting to me, and hopefully it's going to get rocking here. El Dorado, 5 yellows, nice fish, 25 pounders. Mark Paisano and the Amigo, 2 yellows, a handful of other stuff to go along with it. Jeff Markland out there bouncing around these islands also on the Thunderbird. Jeff said they're seeing a lot of fish in terms of exotics, not catching, but providing some good table fare by fishing the rockfish. So we're going to hope that that is going to continue to head in the right direction. Up there in the Channel Islands, few sea bass up there. That's kind of off the bite also. That run and gun white sea bass fishing, that is so much fun. Man, it's really exciting to do it that way. You roll up on a sonar mark and you throw your baits out, get a couple fish, sometimes as many as 6, sometimes you bend the boat. It's really fun fishing up there. We'll get back to that. I don't think it's going to be a whole heck of a lot longer. These islands are a powder keg waiting to explode. I don't know if it's moon phase, barometer, or what it's been, but everything's been off the bite here for a while. And one of these days here, and I think it's going to be really soon, that light switch is going to go on and these fish are going to chew. Dropper looping, yeah, that's what you want to fish a lot out there at the islands when you're fishing sea bass and halibut. All that stuff, dropper loop works good. Fluorocarbon, we love Opsin, www.opsinusa.com. Put in FA, Friedman Adventures, FA at checkout. You'll get a free gift and a note from owner Greg Brown. Keep that in mind. All right, time to talk the coast. The coast is coming alive with bass. There's been some really good fishing. Brandon Cassar, who's going to be on our trip, sending me messages 24/7. Man, I'm so excited about this local bass bite. And who wouldn't be? It's been a while since we've had this really good bass fishing. I'll talk about our trip with Tom yesterday because it was an extraordinarily entertaining trip, no question about it. But starting down there in San Diego, we've seen a few sea bass, better calico bass fishing, some sand bass. Moving up to Dana, similar kind of situation. Right here in the Long Beach, San Pedro area, well, the Victory got this all started, catching limits of sand bass several days ago. And all these guys, Enterprise, Victory, Native Sun with limits of bass yesterday. Nice shot for Aaron out of 22nd Street Landing. Most all these guys are getting in on some bass fishing. And the secret is it's only going to get better because as the water warms up, that's when those bass get going. They are spawning now, but we're looking at a lot of 64.5, 65 degree water. You get that up a couple more degrees and it will be even better than it is right now. For sure, fishing lighter line on calico bass makes a huge difference to your success. I wouldn't go over 15 unless you're fishing structure, and then you've got to go up because you're just going to get cornholed every single time and into a rock or into that structure or into that kelp. But man, we saw that yesterday on the Judith Ann. Fishing light line really was a huge, huge bonus, or gave you a huge advantage when fishing those calicos, and that's been the same thing for all the decades I've been in this game. Choosing a hot bait and making sure that you're fishing light line with a smaller hook, and you'll get bit every single time. There's been fish on the fresh dead squid, on the live squid. We had tremendous success on anchovy and caught a lot of fish on sardine. Probably chovy was a little bit better, so that was really excellent fishing. Tom Durr put us on some really great fishing, and it was biting full speed for us all day long. Had a father-son out with us, and it was so good to fish with Ryan and Alec and see those two bonding. They have a great relationship. I could ascertain that just by watching the two of them. Great people, wonderful, wonderful to fish with. And Eddie Leland out there doing his thing, showing these guys how to fish, sharing his many decades of expertise with them. Tom Durr doing a great job putting us on those fish. It was so much fun. Easy limits of bass, lots of other fish released. A white sea bass that was short. We had barracuda, we had sand bass, calico bass, rockfish. Am I leaving something out? I think that's it. Great variety and a lot of fun, no question about that. And as I say, that water temp's only going to get better. So the guys that are fishing out here, sport boats, you can't go wrong right now. Good bass fishing. And whether they get limits of bass or just a few bass, there's that sculpin also where you can go home with some great table fare. Nothing wrong with that. In the Santa Monica Bay, private boater Ray Johnson said, Man, it's good up here. He sent me a photo. Look at that beautiful 36-inch halibut. Nice going, Ray. That's a beautiful fish. Also had these 2 white sea bass. There's squid up there off El Segundo. And you know, we've talked about it already. Food chain, the big ones will come to eat the little ones. They are feeding on that squid. You get around those squid nests, and you really can have some outstanding fishing. Waving to my friend Valentino, who's up there and really a super human being. No question about it. So, nice shot for Ray. A lot of sport boats out of Marina del Rey and Redondo are fishing rockfish, but they're starting to get a little piece of that. Redondo Special has been fishing bass and at times having some really good fishing. So again, we'll keep watching that for you very, very closely. Island Spirit yesterday out of Ventura sport fishing up there in that neck of the woods. Had a little bit of sand and calico bass, had a nice halibut on the beach, and then loaded up with white fish out in the deeper water. Everybody going home with a nice full sack of fish. And once again, that is great news. I love that. And that little bit of bass on the beach for those guys that barracuda starting to pop around. A little bit warmer water, and we'll get it. Endeavor with a nice 2-day trip here recently. Sea bass and lots of rockfish. Really, really excellent fishing for Tucker. Remember, Ventura Sport Fishing, 805-676-3474. You'll want to get out and join them really, really soon. Once again, taking a look here along the surf, things are improving. We have a grunion run on the 16th. That only is another magnet that draws fish in here. There's some spot fin croaker, yellowfin croaker, halibut in the surf all up and down the beaches. I mean, from down there around Dana to below that. There's excellent surf perch fishing down there around Ensenada that I was sent some photos from a guy from Tijuana who fishes down there all the time. And then as we take a look up in the Santa Monica Bay, more yellowfin croaker there in the El Segundo area, so that's looking good. Throwing the lucky craft can also be a great benefit to you for halibut fishing, and even bigger croaker. Sometimes they will jump all over that. Not the spot fin so much, mostly the yellowfin croaker, but spot fin mostly on the bait and digging up sandworms and spending time to get some what are sometimes called sand fleas, but we call sand crabs, really can give you a big push, a big advantage here in the surf. All right, I don't know what this rainy, crazy weather's all about, but it's supposed to clear up, be a lovely day. One thing that we have on our Amigo trip that I'm very excited about is, wow, Thursday's weather looks beautiful everywhere you look. Friday looks good too. We might get some wind in the afternoon. We'll be headed in by that time, but we are looking down the barrel of some really good conditions, and that is half the battle, let me tell you. So there you have it, the morning briefing out here in the rain, like the U.S. Postal Service. Nothing stops us as we take a look at this week to come. I'm very optimistic that something's going to blow sky high here very soon. As always, it's a pleasure to be with you. A little bit later today, I'll have that bass video up for you from the Judith Ann. I think you're going to really enjoy that. It was a lot of fun. Couple things. Remember, I mentioned the light line. When you're hooking your sardine, a butt hook bait worked really well. I'll go through that on the video that will come out a little bit later. And I mentioned Lucky Craft here in the surf for halibut. Eddie Leland was throwing a Lucky Craft, and he tells me that it makes a difference what pound money you fish with it. He was throwing it with 8-pound and fish after fish after fish on the Lucky Craft. Really great fishing there. But check that video out. You'll be able to see Tom Durr yelling, "Boil!" and getting excited. Even at his advanced age, Tom still musters up the enthusiasm to make it a really fun trip. Take care, everybody. As always, it's a pleasure. Please, if you enjoyed this, give us a like. It really does help us. Share the video with someone you love, and I'll see you again with another update really soon.